Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to make a masterboard, but it's going to be different than the other masterboards that I've made in the past because this one's going to be very neutral. And the reason for that is what I started with as my substrate. I am using the brown packing paper. You know, the stuff we get in our Amazon boxes? I've got loads of this stashed away and I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to give this a try. So right off the bat, I want to add some contrast in. So I grabbed this flower net stencil from the Crafter's Workshop, and I'm using white gesso, but you could use white acrylic paint. Now I chose this stencil because there's wide open areas. I want to make lots of this background white. I want to build in the contrast with black and white, and we're going to continue in that brown range, which is very different for me, which poses challenges for me. It's going to force me to try different things, which is the whole purpose of it. So I'm just putting this in several areas on the masterboard. Now the masterboard that I typically make, I do on 12 by 17 copy paper. It's still very, very thin, but probably twice the thickness of this brown paper. And this one, the brown paper here, is larger than 12 by 7. I never did measure it, and it really doesn't have to be a precise size because you end up using whatever you have. The idea with the masterboard is that you are making it to use for multiple makes, so you typically won't be doing a masterboard on a small sheet of paper, unless I guess your projects are also small. So I'm just using this stencil, which I absolutely love, and gessoing the white through it. Now with masterboards, you want to get lots of layers. You're going to build it up. Now I grabbed this stencil, this dotted ring stencil, and I'm using black. Remember, I'm staying neutral, so it's going to be black, white, brown, beige, all those kind of shades. This is adding a fine detailing, and I chose this stencil because it is fine, but also because it kind of mirrors the other stencil that I have. So a lot of the stamping that I will be doing and the stenciling that I'm going to be doing on this masterboard, the patterns you'll note are similar. They work well together. They've got the same kind of shapes. And I'm just using a makeup sponge to apply the acrylic paint. And I tap into the paint and then tap off so that I don't have a lot of wet paint on the makeup sponge. That tends to seep under the pattern, under the stencil, I mean. If you haven't tried a masterboard, the reason you would is it just opens up creativity. You just start and you're layering. And the reason your creativity might flow easier is because you really aren't thinking about where it's going to go. You're not thinking about the finished page. So you're not posing any limitations on yourself. Now these are DIY foam stamps that I made, and I'll put a link to the video where I make them. And I'm just going to add some stamping. So I'm applying the paint with the makeup sponge to my homemade stamp and then stamping. Right now, my only goal here is to A, keep it neutral, I guess I have two, and B, just make some interesting patterning down below. Layer it up. Now this foam stamps, I highly recommend that you go and watch that video because you're going to want to give it a try. It is so easy. And I'm absolutely love using these stamps on my pages and projects. Here's another one. It's a fan shape. And again, the shape of the fan kind of resembles the flower of the flower net stencil. And I also liked it and picked it because it's a little bit fuller. You're getting a little bit more black on it. If you have a color scheme you'd like me to try on a masterboard, make your suggestion in the comment section below. I do read all the comments and answer them. Now, because this paper is so thin and because I wanted to apply more paint on it, I decided I am going to put a coat of clear gesso on it. If I added any liquid to that paper would just get so soggy. So I am protecting that a little bit, because normally, even on my mixed media paper, which can handle more than this, I put a coat of white gesso. Clear gesso does the same thing, seals the paper. Now you can see how thin it is. The paint actually went through the paper when I was stamping. So I actually end up giving this another coat, because at this time I'm thinking I was going to add a lot of color to it, and I didn't want to wet the paper too terribly much. It also seals the paper, so if I stencil something on or stamp something on and didn't like it, if there's that coat of gesso, I can lift it up. If it was raw paper, I really can't. Now here I'm adding thickened gesso. Now this is just regular gesso that I bought from the local art store. It was their economy gesso, but it thickened over time. So this is not only giving that white color with the patterning, but it's also adding texture to my page. And I'm just putting it on. Now you can try to thicken your own gesso if you'd like, or you can buy gesso that is thicker. It usually says that right on the label. Extra thick gesso. It's kind of between modeling paste and gesso. So I like how this is filled in a lot of areas. It's brightened the page, it's added texture. Made this look very vintage-like. So now I decide, instead of putting color, I'm undecided if I want to put color on this, but I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to only do it to half of the page. So I'm folding it in half. I check to make sure that one half of it I will still be able to use on an art journal page, my 7x10, so it's big enough. And then I'm just ripping this in half. We're going to divide and conquer. This way, I've done all the work on this, and now I can do different things on each half. Or you could do it on each quarter. So if you've got different ideas and aren't sure which way to go, you can do all of them. So here we've made one masterboard, and now we're going to do two. So one of these, I decide that I'm going to leave it as it is. I'm thinking I could add color wherever. This one I'm adding some teal. So I mixed Prussian blue and Naples yellow, which makes this beautiful teal. I've watered it down. It's on a piece of acetate packaging. And then I'm just going to smoosh the color on. Now, if I hadn't put that white clear gesso on, this would just soak into the paper. But now it's on top, which is going to allow me to lift up some of this. You'll see me doing this as I play. And it's also not saturating the paper and making the paper really, really weak, because I'm adding more water and I'm just mixing this up. I want some of this teal color on there. And I'm giving it a dry in between. I'm not done yet manipulating that teal color. I might be adding, I still am going to add more, but I'm drawing it in between. Let this set. And here I'm lifting a little bits of it, and I couldn't do that if I hadn't put the clear gesso on. Some of it was a little bit heavier. Smooshing is a very imperfect science. You've got to let go of a lot of things when you start smooshing. So there's the Prussian blue, there's the Naples yellow, making that beautiful teal color that I absolutely love. Adding a little bit of water, and then some smooshing. And then lifting off some, spreading it, just playing with it till it looks like what I want. And again, at this point, I don't have a plan for what I'm going to use this masterboard for. I do know that I like teal, and I have a lot of things that would probably go with this. But I'll be going through my stash of focal images and making a decision about what may work with this background or not. But for right now, we have a beautiful vintage background, brown, white, and teal. So there are the two masterboards that I created in this under 30-minute period. So here's one that I've decided to keep neutral, but I could have put another color. I could have smooshed it on just like I did the other one, but I chose to wait because I can always do that at a later point in time. And maybe I'm going to challenge myself to just use the neutral background as it is. If the background's neutral, the focal image can have a lot of color. Be sure to subscribe to my channel and select the option to be notified of upcoming videos, because I'm going to take both of these masterboards and make multiple projects using them. And here is the one with teal. So we have two, same but different. And as I said, there will be 3 other videos coming where I'm going to take these masterboards and turn them into mixed media projects. Which one is your favorite? Do you like the one with the teal? What other color would you have put on there if not teal? Here are close-ups of the finished masterboards. Until next time, go get creative. Go make a masterboard.